King Chokuma, the widower for 5 long years, walked slowly through the echoing halls of his palace in noon. Each footstep seemed louder in the silence left by his late wife, whose laughter once filled every corner. He had ruled wisely and earned respect across the land, yet the grand throne felt cold beneath him, and the vast halls only reminded him of his loneliness. His son, Prince Obinna, had been in America for 2 years, leaving the young and intelligent Naza, his fiancée, in charge of the palace. She moved gracefully through the corridors, attending to matters of state and assisting the king in important decisions, her diligence and care impressing even Chokuma himself. Over time, he noticed her subtle strength, her patience with the servants, and her kind words that soothed his weary spirit. He found himself looking forward to seeing her each day, though he struggled to contain feelings he dared not name. The idea of loving a woman betrothed to his son filled him with guilt, yet the heart is often beyond reason, and Chokuma's heart had already begun to betray him. Naza herself was unaware of the stirrings in the king's heart. She treated him with respect and admiration, yet in her own heart, she found herself thinking of him often. His wisdom, his quiet strength, and his rare smiles in moments of vulnerability touched her deeply. She was loyal to the prince, yet she realized, with a mix of fear and delight, that her admiration for the king had grown into something far more profound. Each day, as she walked beside him in the gardens or helped him meet with village elders, she felt a warmth in her chest that both frightened and comforted her. Both Naza and Chokuma were trapped in unspoken longings, bound by tradition, duty, and silence. Yet fate, it seemed, had already begun weaving threads that would soon challenge every rule of the heart and every expectation of the palace. The palace buzzed one bright morning with news that Prince Obinna was returning from America. The announcement stirred a strange mixture of joy and anxiety in King Chokuma. Though he had grown fond of Naza during Obinna's absence, he fought against his feelings daily, fearing the shame and scandal if anyone discovered the truth. When Obinna finally arrived, he brought with him a young woman named Adiz, claiming she was the one he loved and intended to marry. Adiz was striking in appearance but loud, impatient, and selfish. She had little respect for tradition or the palace rules and seemed more interested in wealth and attention than her fiancé. The king watched her carefully, sensing instantly that she was not the woman his son truly needed, yet he knew he could not oppose Obinna's choice without creating conflict. Meanwhile, Naza received the prince politely, concealing her sorrow and disappointment at the arrival of Adiz, whose manners and arrogance only made the palace feel heavier. Days passed, and Chokuma's heart ached in ways he could not fully explain. The presence of Adiz made him uneasy, yet every glance at Naza reminded him of the growing affection he could no longer deny. He observed her kindness and patience as she continued to manage the palace, her focus unwavering even amid the tension. Naza, in turn, found herself unsettled by the subtle glances and thoughtful gestures of the king. She had always thought of Obinna as her future, yet something in the way Chokuma regarded her stirred feelings she could not ignore. Every conversation, every shared smile, and every moment spent together deepened the connection between them, though neither dared to speak aloud. They were caught in a web of respect, love, and silence, both aware that their hearts had already begun to defy reason and tradition. Weeks turned into months, and Chokuma's feelings for Naza grew stronger with each passing day. Every time she walked through the palace courtyard, her laughter and gentle steps seemed to awaken a part of him that he had thought dead. He began seeking excuses to speak with her, asking her opinion on matters of governance, on palace management, or simply asking about her day. He tried to hide the flutter in his chest when she smiled at him, but the truth was impossible to conceal. Naza, too, felt a strange warmth whenever she was near the king, though she had always told herself that her loyalty lay with Obinna. Her heart, however, had already been captured by Chokuma's quiet strength, his wisdom, and the genuine care he showed to everyone in the palace. The realization terrified her, for the love that bloomed in her heart was dangerous and forbidden, yet it was undeniable. One rainy evening, under the dim light of lanterns in the palace gardens, Chokuma finally spoke. "Naza," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "I fear that what I feel is beyond reason. Yet I cannot deny it. I care for you more than I should. More than I can bear." Naza's heart raced, tears forming in her eyes. She had secretly longed for this confession but feared the consequences. In a soft whisper, she replied, "My king. My heart has been yours too, though I never dared speak it." they agreed to keep their feelings secret, waiting until after the prince's marriage to reveal the truth. That night, both returned to their duties, hearts full of hope and fear, bound by love, silence, and a shared promise. The palace seemed to breathe with a new energy, yet tension lingered in every corridor, for the future remained uncertain and the rules of tradition still loomed over them. Adi's true nature soon began to show in full force. She demanded lavish gifts, scorned palace traditions, and treated the servants and staff with disdain. She mocked Naza openly, calling her too old-fashioned for the modern world, and flaunted her beauty in every corner of the palace. The prince, initially blinded by her charm and foreign mannerisms, began to notice the unease she created, but he told himself it was minor. One evening, Obinna stumbled upon a shocking scene, Adi's in the arms of a palace maid, hidden in the shadows of the servant quarters. Rage and betrayal consumed him. His vision blurred, heart pounding, he confronted Adi's immediately, and the truth of her deceit could no longer be denied. She was sent away from the palace, humiliated and exposed, leaving Obinna stunned, ashamed, and unsure of what to do next. The walls of the palace seemed to echo with tension, and even Chukwuma could sense the storm brewing in his son's heart. During the chaos, Naza remained composed, her grace unwavering as she helped restore order. Though she had once loved Obinna, she never truly intended to marry him. Her heart belonged to the king. When Obinna, desperate and full of confusion, came to her pleading for forgiveness and guidance, Naza spoke softly but firmly. "Obinna," she said, "my heart has never belonged to you. It has always belonged to your father. I cannot force what is not meant for me. Nor can I betray my true feelings." Obinna staggered back as though struck, anger, sorrow, and disbelief warring in his eyes. He had never imagined that Naza's love was not for him but for his father. The revelation shook him to his core, igniting feelings of resentment and betrayal. Chukwuma, standing silently nearby, felt the heaviness of the moment. Both father and son were caught in a storm of emotion, yet the truth had been revealed, and the course of their lives could no longer follow the path of secrecy. Obinna's grief and anger quickly turned to fury. He confronted his father in the grand hall, his voice booming across the ancient walls. "You stole my wife? How could you betray me like this?" he shouted, eyes flashing with pain. Chukwuma, though saddened by his son's words, stood tall and calm. "Obinna," he said, his voice steady but heavy with emotion, "I never sought to steal anything from you. My heart found love in the years you were away, a love that grew silently and sincerely. Naza has always belonged to me in the ways that matter, and she has loved me in return. I meant no harm to you, only to be true to the feelings in my heart." Obinna's fist clenched as the weight of the truth pressed down on him. The rage that had burned within him was now mixed with confusion, pain, and the beginnings of understanding. The hall felt tense, as if the walls themselves waited for what would happen next. Naza, standing between them, tried to soothe the turmoil. She gently touched Obinna's arm and spoke with quiet authority. "Obinna, your heart has been wronged by Adis. Do not let your anger cloud your judgment of what is true. Your father's love for me is honest, just as mine is for him. You must see that forcing a love that does not exist will only bring more pain." Obinna, staring at both of them, felt the anger slowly give way to sorrow. He realized that love, especially true love, could not be commanded or controlled. And that happiness forced upon someone who does not feel it would never last. Though wounded, he began the slow journey of acceptance. The tension in the palace lessened as the realization took hold. The heart's desire could not be dictated by tradition, and love, when true, would always find its way. In the weeks that followed, Chukwuma and Naza's love blossomed quietly within the palace walls. Stolen moments in the garden, whispered conversations by lantern light, and gentle touches in the hallways became the quiet rhythm of their days. Obinna, though still hurt, began to see the sincerity and depth of their bond. He noticed how Naza's eyes lit up when she spoke to his father, how the king's features softened in her presence. Slowly, he began to respect the connection he had once resented. Even the palace staff noticed the change. Laughter returned to the corridors, meals were served with a lighter air, and the heavy tension that had clung to every room lifted like morning mist. One evening, Chukwuma and Naza stood together in the palace courtyard, watching the sun sink behind the rolling hills of Nui. Naza took the king's hand and whispered, "We cannot hide forever, my king, but perhaps the world will understand when they see the truth in our hearts." Chukwuma nodded, eyes misted with emotion, knowing that their love, though once forbidden, had survived the trials of secrecy, loyalty, and fear. In those quiet moments, they felt the bond of their hearts grow stronger, ready to face judgment, scandal, and tradition. Their love had endured, proving that patience, honesty, and courage could conquer even the deepest fears of society and family. Obinna, after many nights of reflection and heartache, approached his father one evening. "I see now what I could not before," he said softly, the anger in his voice replaced with a cautious understanding. "Love does not follow roles, or age, or titles. You are Naza. You belong together, and I see now that my own heart was never truly hers." Chukwuma embraced his son, tears streaming down both their faces. Obinna felt a sense of relief and acceptance, realizing that forcing love where it did not exist would have only brought ruin. He had been wounded, yes, but he could now witness the happiness and sincerity of the two people he had once thought were betraying him. Naza smiled gently at the prince, offering forgiveness and understanding. Slowly, the palace returned to harmony, with love and acceptance filling the air. The people of Nui, who had heard whispers of scandal and forbidden love, were initially shocked. Yet, as the truth unfolded, the betrayal of Adis, the unwavering love between Chukwuma and Naza, and Obinna's understanding, the hearts of the people softened. They began to celebrate not scandal, but the triumph of sincere love, patience, and courage. The palace, once a place of tension and secrecy, was now alive with joy, laughter, and warmth. The king, his son, and Naza had weathered storms of emotion, tradition, and societal expectation, and in the process taught the kingdom a lesson that love, when true, could heal, endure, and ultimately transform even the hardest of hearts. The day came when Chukwuma and Naza publicly declared their love. The palace courtyard was adorned with vibrant fabrics, drums echoed through the air, and the people of Nui gathered to witness a union that had once seemed impossible. Obinna stood by their side, smiling genuinely, a mix of pride and acceptance in his expression. The ancestors, it seemed, had smiled upon this union, blessing the love that had waited patiently for truth and courage. Chukwuma and Naza exchanged vows beneath the golden sunlight, their eyes locked in a gaze filled with trust, devotion, and a deep understanding that life had finally granted them what they had longed for. As the celebrations continued, the palace hummed with joy and music. Children ran through the gardens, elders danced to traditional rhythms, and the halls echoed with laughter and song. Chukwuma and Naza, hand in hand, walked among the people, their hearts beating as one. Their love, once hidden, now shone like a beacon of hope and courage. Even Obinna felt a quiet contentment, knowing that his father and Naza had found happiness, and that love, in its purest form, could conquer doubt, anger, and fear. The story of their hearts, once forbidden, would be told for generations, a testament to the power of honesty, patience, and the courage to follow the call of the heart, no matter the cost.